Some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Men aren't good enough, and I think that it's time that all men, especially black men, accept that. Women are saying what they want, and for some reason, men would rather get online and tell women what they should want rather than take them at their word. Eboni K. Williams' viral clip with Iyanla Vanzant is proof of that. I'm the Unspecialist. Let's talk about why men should stop trying to manage women's expectations or prerequisites for a man. Eboni K. Williams threw the internet into a frenzy after her comments about how many, if not most men, simply aren't good enough to date for most women out here. Let's see what she had to say in her interview with Iyanla.
I know that you've said that you cannot teach a man or tell a man how to be a man. So I will not ask you to indict men in this question. But I do want you to speak, Iyanla, to how women need to, position ourselves so that we can be in our divinity, so we can have our crowns right, how we can create and not build, when some of us, quite frankly, feel that the men that are available to us, and I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum, trust me, I've done them all, they are not positioned to protect nor provide because of some of the statistics we just talked about. They're not earning the incomes. They're not having the resources, and some of them are not even showing up in the leadership.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date a bus driver?
If he owns the bus. If he owns it. If he owns the bus.
See, that's a problem. That's a problem. That's a problem. Okay. Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day. I'm not talking about that. But the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society. I would date a bus driver if he loved driving the bus, if he was a man of integrity, if he was good to his mama, if he treated me well, I would date a bus.
Iyanla's response to Eboni exposed two things. First, that women like Eboni look down on men that they perceive to be less successful than them, which is something we should already know. And second, women have an obsession with a man being the boss, something else we should already know. In her defense, Eboni made a great point about ownership. However, we already know that most men will never be a part of that ownership class, even if every man aspired to it. So even if you're not a boss, not on the path to be a boss, or don't want to be a boss, regardless of the intent of her statement, it shouldn't affect you. You should focus on your path because there are many to choose from, and you should not be concerned with what her or any other woman thinks about it. You should always strive to make something of yourself for yourself, because expecting these women to be understanding is just as delusional as them expecting every man to be a boss, an owner, or as successful as the mythical gold standard man they have in their heads. Because this is so obvious, I won't dwell on it too long. Iyanla was saying the same things many men try to say about prioritizing good character traits and behaviors that are positive indicators for long-term relationship success. However, something else that's always conveniently left out of these dating and relationship discussions is social class. You don't hear any of these relationship gurus or podcasts mention social class. We have women who grew up as poor or barely middle class, expecting to date successful business owners. Dating apps and social media make it seem possible, and the mere possibility is enough to make them dive headfirst into delusion, no matter how improbable such a fate is. We have delusional men too. However, in my opinion, male delusion doesn't count, because men are brought back to reality daily. Men are told constantly, like in this case, that they aren't good enough, and are also told what they don't deserve because of that. A delusional man gets ridiculed by men and women alike, and if you don't cash your reality check, you'll end up broke and suffering in this world. There's no escape or pity for you as a man because of your looks or your gender. This is why you shouldn't worry about or try to manage a woman's expectations. Eboni K. Williams doubled down on her comments and proved why her opinion shouldn't matter in her response. Let's have a listen.
So out of the 50,000 plus comments posted on social, I only saw a handful that even considered the possibility of a bus owner being a more aspirational position and recognizing that I am actually speaking and pouring into the ascension of black men when I said what I said. But see, no, some of y'all were too busy naming and shaming me personally and black women in general as undesirable, gold diggers, and much worse. Now, I suspect that some of y'all are the same men that were bringing home C's and D's on your report cards, only to then be coddled by parents that said, well, that's okay, as long as you're doing your best. Well, listen, I love and believe in the excellence of black men. So no, my dear, C's and D's or any other form of mediocrity is not okay. No, I will not create a soft place for you or anybody that I love to fall comfortably into the bigotry of low expectations. So I'm going to say one more time, there's absolutely nothing wrong with driving a bus. My mother Gloria drove one for years. But could it be that black America has been sold a narrative of average, regular, and typical being good enough for us? Well, see, that's called white supremacy. And in this case, it takes the form of conditioning black Americans to happily accept being a permanent American underclass. But see, because I know the truth about black folk in America, no, average is not and will never be good enough for me. And the gag is, I don't think it's good enough for you either.
Coon chip will activate. It only takes a little bit of white brainwash to activate the coon chip in the average Negro.
That entire monologue was patronizing, using positive and aspirational language to cover the contempt in her tone. She's obviously talking down to the targets of her tirade. Surely, in the first clip, where she framed it as a personal preference, things kind of made sense. She's entitled to date men in her social class. However, this insane twist to blame white supremacy and accepting underclass status is some prime-time, elitist mental gymnastics, which only exposes her opinion of black people in America. So, to the black men who were riled at what she said, why should her opinion matter? She's just another educated, successful, self-proclaimed boss chick who sees herself in a different class to the rest of black folk. That's fine. A woman's expectations are her problem. Average exists in every racial group, and that's the best most people can even hope to achieve. It's pointless trying to convince women to choose average men if they don't want them. Wish them the best. Eboni chose her path, and despite her intelligent insight shared in that monologue, here she is, a couple decades in on the dating market, having dated all kinds and races of men, as she said herself.
And I'm talking about across the color spectrum, across the age spectrum. Trust me, I've done them all.
And yet still, she is forced to choose to be a single mom because the mythical gold standard man she talks about never chose her. But hey, that's a story for another video. If you want to see me do that video, let me know down in the comment. That said, I'm still very confident that there are many men out here willing to risk half their assets by marrying her. Don't get it twisted. Also note that she mentioned the over 50,000 responses to her clip. Thousands of them came from other women. However, she chose to respond to men, black men in particular, despite not mentioning them explicitly in the first video, suggesting that they are or were coddled, and then somehow segue that into white supremacy and black people being cool with mediocrity. I think that exposes who she was targeting from the jump and says a lot about her as a person. Do you think she had a point? Should her opinion matter? Are the men responding, overreacting? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content in the future. This is the Unspecialist saying, when it comes to matters like these, women you don't want shouldn't matter. Peace.
I know the truth about black folk in America. Could it be that black America has been sold a narrative of average, regular, and typical being good enough for us? Well, see, that's called white supremacy. And in this case, it takes the form of conditioning black Americans to happily accept being a permanent American underclass.
I care about the coons, brothers and sisters. We're going to open up a mental health rehabilitation hospital for political coonery. We are going to treat the coons, brothers and sisters. We can't leave them out there. We have to treat the coons. The